So in this lesson, we're going to go over a couple of very simple examples for adding corrective shapes to this face rigging. So what we have here is we have the basically just the skin cluster weights. There aren't any blend shapes on this. We just have the skin cluster. We're going to add corrective shapes in a couple of areas. One being this extreme mouth open position. I'd like to curve this back just a bit more. And additionally, we're going to add a corrective shape for when we translate the nostril control back. I'm going to add a little volume preservation there as well. Okay, let's start with the simpler of the two examples, the nostril. I have a couple of shapes here that I've already built. Okay, so here's our nostril shape. We can see the bulge, quick bulge that I modeled in there. So I'm going to select both targets at this point. Select the base and create a blend shape. Deform, blend shape. Let's open the option box. I'm going to call this head fixes. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is reorder the deformation so that this blend shape node triggers before the skin cluster. So with the target or the base selected, I'm going to go to the list inputs, select the all inputs, and middle mouse drag and drop the blend shape node so that it is ordered before the skin cluster. Okay. My range slider here. Set this to 195 and this to 180. Let's see here. Okay, 185. Okay, hide this again. Zoom in on the nostril. So here we can see that dialing in, or that shape, that skin cluster shape at frame 190. So I'm going to show the blend shape, window, animation editors, blend shape, and here's our nose fix, and dial that in to 100%. So now what I'm going to do is use a set driven key. So this nostril joint, let me select it here. When it scales to 1.5, it will activate the blend shape. So I'm going to select the joint, select animate, set driven key, set option. So the driver is going to be scale X. The driven will be this nose fix blend shape. So I'm going to select the blend shape node and load that into driven, and then select the nose fix. So the default, we want our nose fix blend shape to be at a weight of 0. So we'll key that. Then at frame 90, we're going to set our nose fix to 1. Let's key that once again. So now what we have, let's hide the joints for a second. So there we have that simple corrective blend shape, which could be done, here's a comparison to the other side. This could be done with skin clusters, maybe adding another joint here that would scale as well as translate back along with the scaling of this joint. But it's just as easy, if not easier, if you have access to or are a good modeler, to create a complex corrective or additive blend shape and tying it into the rotation, translation, or scale of a controller. In this case, it's very simple because it's just one axis, the scale X, that we have to deal with. Okay. So now let's go to another example. The mouth opening wide. So once again, I've already created and applied another balloon shaped target. Let's show this target real quickly. So you can see the modeling on this is not overly intuitive. I have some rotation up here, scaling past the verts that come before it. But when we apply that balloon shape here, so we can see that not only am I evening out the deformations in this region here just before the nostril, just making that a little more even, but also rounding this out a bit. Once again, not a drastic change, but something that can make this look a little better. We have some rotation as well as translation going on up toward the top of the lip. Okay, so that's our shape. Now this situation is a little different. In this case, this pose is driven by multiple rotations. Not only is this jaw joint rotated, as well as the head joint, but each of the jaw joints, as well as the upper jaw joint, they have rotations. Now this example will show the importance of, in essence, unifying your rotations. You can see that all of the rotate Y for the lower jaw, as well as the head and upper jaw, are all positive values. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use the utility node to add all of these rotations, the rotate Y's, and use that single value with all of those added rotate Y values to drive the blend shape. Okay, let's open our script editor. Let's clear this out. So I'm going to create a node which is called plus minus average, and it does just that. It will either add together a number of inputs, 1, 2, or 3-dimensional, or it will subtract them or average them all out based on the number of inputs. So let's create this node by typing in create node plus minus average. Let's give it a name. Cave 01 mouth fix PMA for plus minus average. Let's select that, hit enter. So there are no channels on this plus minus average node. So I'm going to, with that node selected, open up our connection editor and load this plus minus average node into the inputs. So you see we have 3 possible inputs. 1D, which is a one-dimensional or a single channel, 2D, 2 channels, and 3D, 3 channel. We're only concerned with using the rotate Y on the jaw, so we're going to use the 1D. So I'm going to select this first jaw joint, load it into the outputs of the connection editor, scroll down, and open up the rotate X, or the rotate, so we have rotate Y showing. I'm going to connect the rotate Y to the, there we go, to the input 1D. So we can see here, here's the command that we have. The connect adder, the low jaw rotate Y to the plus minus average dot input 1D index 0. So I'm going to copy and paste this. So now I'm going to connect the other lower jaw joints, head and upper jaw joint, using the same command, connect adder command, but changing the index. I'm going to copy and paste it. So I'm going to connect low jaw 2, but change the index to 1. So now I have 2 rotate Y values, adding into this plus minus average node. Let's see here. So we're going to go all the way to jaw 5. So once again, just copying and pasting and changing the jaw joint numbering as well as the index. We want to increment by 1. Okay, and then 2 more. One for the head 03 and the up jaw 01. Up jaw 01 and then head 03. Increment the indexing. Okay. So I'm going to create a quick node on this low jaw joint. Let me lock and hide some of these, hide these. Okay, so I'm going to select, with that joint selected, channels, add attribute. I'm going to call this added jaws. Make it a float value. Hit OK. So I'm going to open up the connection editor once again. Window, General Editors, Connection Editor. I'm going to load that jaw joint into the inputs and scroll to the bottom where all of the user created attributes are created. Select the plus minus average node in the channel box and load that into the outputs. Then connect the output 1D to this added jaws. So now we can see what the cumulative value of all these rotations are. Okay, show our head model once again. So we're going to want this shape to kick in. I mean, there is fine. From when the head lifts up is when we want this to kick in. So now, I'm going to select this jaw joint, select the plus minus average node, and then we're going to use the set driven key tool. Animate, set driven key, set, and option box. So our plus minus average, the output 1D is going to drive our mouth corner fix. Okay, so at this value, I'm going to key it since that will be our 0 value. And at this value, I'm going to set our mouth corner fix shape to 1 and key that. Okay, so there we have a corrective blend shape, but we were able to blend it over multiple joint rotations by using the plus minus average node. And plus additive is the first operator on that plus minus average node, so we didn't need to go in and set it. But let's select that. Just open the attribute editor. So we can see that sum is the first operator. The other operators are subtract and average. We're going to just leave it to sum. Okay, so two quick and simple examples of using the corrective blend shapes. One for this wide open mouth shape, just to add a little more roundness to it and deal with some other deformation issues. And the other was adding just a little volume to the nostril area. Once again, very simple, but just ways of using blend shapes in a corrective manner on a face, where you can add a little more to a skin cluster deformation, or you could even use one blend shape to drive another blend shape. For instance, if this nostril were a blend shape, there's nothing preventing us from, for instance, from 0 to 1 of driving the secondary blend shape, or we could even cascade that so that it will reach a certain point. For instance, with a mouth shape, it will reach a certain point and then trigger a wrinkle. And we can do that with either blend shapes, or we can do it with direct controls and skin clusters.